Jack Reacher thought he was dealing with a suspicious woman on a subway. 3 episodes later, that simple encounter has turned into a conspiracy involving a missing flash drive, a possible government cover-up, a congressional candidate, a mysterious woman with several different stories, and people who would rather die than reveal what they know. And the biggest clue may have come from someone Reacher barely had time to question. Nolan Cahill is dead, and his death changes the entire investigation. One of the best things about the opening episodes of Reacher Season 4 is that the story doesn't spend too much time dragging old baggage into the new case. Reacher finishes one problem, moves on, and almost immediately finds himself in another. That's exactly the kind of story that suits him. He's a drifter. He doesn't need a permanent home or a complicated reason to get involved. Sometimes all it takes is seeing something that doesn't make sense. And that's exactly what happens on the subway. The subway encounter that starts everything. Reacher notices Anna Merrick almost immediately. Something about her behavior doesn't look right. She's sweating. She's dressed strangely for the situation. She's nervous. And she's holding onto a bag in a way that catches Reacher's attention. His first assumption is that she could be carrying a bomb. So naturally, Reacher intervenes. But he gets the situation wrong. Anna isn't carrying a bomb. She pulls out a revolver and takes her own life. And just like that, Reacher is standing in the middle of a situation he doesn't understand. Normally, Reacher's ability to read people is one of his greatest advantages. That's why this moment matters. He made the wrong call. And that immediately tells us there is more happening here than what appears on the surface. The police arrive and begin questioning him. Philadelphia officers Tamara Green and Sean Doherty want answers. But before the situation can settle down, federal agents from Washington arrive. And then another group appears to be interested in the same thing, a flash drive. Suddenly Anna's death doesn't look like an isolated incident. It looks like the first piece of a much larger puzzle, the missing flash drive. Reacher quickly realizes something is wrong with the official version of Anna's story. One of the witnesses connected to the subway incident has disappeared. That catches Reacher's attention immediately. It's the kind of detail most people would overlook, but Reacher doesn't. And once he notices it, the case starts moving. Anna's brother Jacob gives Reacher another reason to stay involved. According to Jacob, Anna worked in Army Human Resources. She had a son named Ben. And most importantly, Jacob doesn't believe Anna had a reason to kill herself. For Reacher, that's enough. He doesn't need a personal connection to the victim. He just needs something that doesn't add up. And right now, too much doesn't add up. Then Lila Hoth enters the story. Lila Hoth initially appears to provide a straightforward explanation. She claims she has leukemia and desperately needs a bone marrow donor. She also claims that Congressman John Sampson is the father she never knew. According to Lila, Anna discovered documents connecting Sampson to her mother during his time with Delta Force in Indonesia. Suddenly, the flash drive has an obvious purpose. Blackmail, leverage, political destruction. At first, it sounds almost too simple. And that's exactly why Reacher doesn't completely buy it. Because if this were simply about exposing a politician's secret child, why are people willing to kill for the information? Why are federal agencies involved? And why does everyone seem desperate to get their hands on the same piece of evidence? Those questions become more important when people begin targeting Reacher and Lila. Someone wants Lila dead. An assassin comes after Reacher inside a library archive. Another attacker goes after Lila at her hotel. Then the violence keeps escalating. By episode 3, armed men are storming Russell Plum's loft and later targeting Lila at a bowling alley. At this point, the situation is clearly bigger than a political scandal. Someone is cleaning up loose ends. But then Lila's story begins falling apart. She admits that parts of the biography she gave Reacher weren't true. Amisha isn't actually her mother. The paternity story isn't what she originally claimed. Instead, Lila says she's a journalist investigating atrocities connected to Indonesian General Putra. According to her new story, Putra's forces received training from the Delta Force unit connected to Sampson. And now we're right back where we started. The problem isn't just that Lila lied. It's that we don't know how much of her story is a lie. Every time she gives Reacher an answer, another question appears. And that's dangerous. Because Reacher may be willing to help someone who's telling the truth. He's much less likely to trust someone who's constantly changing the story. Reacher gets tranquilized. Episode 2 gives us one of the more entertaining moments of the opening 3 episodes. Reacher gets hit with tranquilizer darts. Not 1,
2.
And when he wakes up, he's clearly impressed that it took 2 to put him down. That's classic Reacher. Even while being kidnapped, he manages to turn the situation into a personal victory. But the bigger problem is where he wakes up. He's with Tamara and Jacob inside what he identifies as a CIA black site. And once again, the people holding them want the flash drive. Reacher doesn't have it. So now another major question appears. Why is the CIA involved? Because if the entire conspiracy was simply about a congressman's secret child, this response would be ridiculous. The involvement of intelligence agencies suggests something much bigger is happening. And that's where Russell Plum becomes important. He's a freelance journalist who has already destroyed much of his career chasing government secrets. But apparently, he hasn't learned his lesson. He gets involved again. And this time, helping Reacher means putting himself directly in the middle of another dangerous conspiracy. Ben Merrick's disappearance. Meanwhile, Anna's son Ben is missing. At first, his disappearance could be dismissed as typical college-age irresponsibility. But then things become much darker. A woman connected to Ben is found dead, and suddenly his disappearance looks much more serious. Jacob is devastated. He's already dealing with the death of his sister, and now his nephew is gone too. His frustration pushes him into making decisions without thinking about the consequences. But his desperation also helps move the investigation forward. Because Anna's abandoned car contains something important. A duplicate Pentagon identification badge. And this isn't an ordinary identification card. The level of access connected to it doesn't match the simple Army HR position everyone thought Anna had. Now Reacher knows something for certain. Anna was hiding something. The question is what? The Pentagon connection. Russell Plum follows the information from Anna's badge to a secure government facility. That becomes one of the first major clues that doesn't depend entirely on Lila's story. Anna had access to something important. She was connected to the government in a way people didn't initially understand. And someone clearly didn't want that information exposed. The flash drive suddenly becomes even more significant. Whatever is on it could explain why Anna was so afraid. It could explain why she died. And it could explain why multiple groups are willing to kill to find it. John Sampson's story gets complicated. Congressman John Sampson initially appears to be at the center of the scandal. But when Reacher confronts him, things don't go exactly as expected. Sampson denies being Lila's father. He voluntarily provides DNA. He also acknowledges knowing General Putra, but denies being involved in the atrocities connected to him. And Reacher believes him. That's important. Because if Sampson isn't lying, then the obvious explanation for the flash drive is wrong. The political scandal may simply be cover for something much larger. And that's when Nolan Cahill enters the picture. Nolan Cahill's final secret. Reacher recognizes Cahill as the man he saw connected to Anna on the subway. That's huge. Because Cahill isn't some random person. He's Sampson's chief of staff. So now the missing witness is directly connected to the congressman everyone has been investigating. Reacher confronts him. And instead of explaining himself, Cahill makes a shocking decision. He jumps from the roof. That ending changes everything. Because Anna died rather than explain what she knew. Now Cahill has done essentially the same thing.
2 people.
2 deaths. 1 secret. And suddenly, the flash drive becomes much more frightening. Because whatever is on it isn't merely embarrassing. Someone has convinced people that revealing the truth is worse than dying. Final thoughts. The first 3 episodes of Reacher Season 4 do a good job of constantly changing the question. At first, we're asking why Anna killed herself. Then we're asking what was on the flash drive. Then we wonder whether Lila is telling the truth. Then the CIA gets involved. Then Anna's Pentagon credentials appear. Then John Sampson's military history becomes relevant. And finally, Nolan Cahill dies. Every answer creates another problem. That's exactly where Reacher works best. He isn't investigating one clean mystery. He's pulling at a thread, and every time he pulls, more of the conspiracy comes loose. And right now, Lila is still the person I trust the least. Her story has changed too many times. Maybe she's telling the truth now. Maybe she's hiding something. Or maybe she's being used by someone who understands exactly how to manipulate Reacher. But Cahill's death is the biggest development so far, because it proves that Anna wasn't the only person terrified of whatever is on that flash drive. And if two people connected to the same secret have chosen death instead of talking, Reacher may have stumbled onto something much more dangerous than a political scandal. The real mystery now isn't simply what happened to Anna Merrick. It's what did Anna discover that made powerful people this desperate to keep the truth buried? And if Reacher finds that flash drive before the people hunting it do, somebody is going to have a very serious problem. Because Reacher doesn't usually stop once he knows something is wrong. He keeps pulling the thread. And judging by these first 3 episodes, this particular thread leads somewhere very ugly.